All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Daily Sales on Demand for CEOs. I am really excited to be here with my new friend, Sara Yagoub, and we're going to have a really fun conversation about team and about business growth. And in connecting with Sara, Sara has not one, not two, but three different businesses. And the reason that I wanted to have this conversation with her is her story is so similar to mine in that, had a rock star corporate career and just decided that, hey, I don't think this is for me forever, and pivoted and has created some really cool things. So that's what we're going to chat about today. So welcome, Sara.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Ryan. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, I'm excited. So can you kind of tell the story a little bit of like what you were doing in the corporate space, jumping into entrepreneurship, and how you got to now running three businesses?
Sure. Yeah, no worries. So yeah, I do come from a corporate environment. I was in oil and gas and energy here in Houston, Texas. That's where I am. And so I did that for almost 10 years before jumping into entrepreneurship. And I always joke around and say that entrepreneurship for me, it just kind of fell in my lap. I did not have a long intention or a long plan to become an entrepreneur or business owner. It was just out of necessity that it happened. So when I started in corporate oil and gas and energy, I started at the very bottom because my degree was in philosophy, something unrelated. So I had to start low man at the totem pole, and it was a male dominated environment, but I was willing to do whatever it took to climb that corporate ladder so that way I could make a good living for, me and my family. So that's exactly what I did. I just started from the bottom. I started off in client services, project administrative roles. I moved up to sales and then moved up into operations management. And so when I left corporate, that's what I was doing. I was director of operations management. So we did all of client services, customer loyalty, everything that was important for the business. We just made sure that it was running smoothly. So I loved my time in corporate until I didn't.
Yes.
It was great. I would say when I was really young and I didn't have a family. And by the way, I know some big businesses have now incorporated a lot of practices that allow it. It's more conducive for a woman or if you have a family. But I know for me, especially in oil and gas at that time, it was not at all. The higher up that I climbed, the more I realized, okay, this is out of alignment with everything that matters the most to me. So I was sacrificing a lot of my health, my happiness, my marriage, my relationships. So I knew that I had to make a change. And so at the time I had all this business management experience, and my husband was an air conditioning technician and for a lot of big businesses. So he fixes ACs, And so we decided, I told him, I said, let's just take a leap of faith. And I asked him to give me a year. I said, give me a year. Because at first he was like, no, we're going to quit our jobs. And what are we going to do? I was like, we'll start our own business. I know how to run a business and you know how to fix air conditions. Let's put that together. And so he was hesitant, but he did give me a year. And so that's what we did. We took a leap of faith and we started our air conditioning business here. And so from within I would want to say a year, within 12 months, we hit the 7-figure mark. And within 18 months, we hit the multi-million-dollar revenue. And so that was about 3 or 4 years ago. And so now since then, so that company is Be Cool AC and Heating. So since then, we've branched off to Be Cool Enterprises, which is an investor company, and we have lots of properties. And then the third company is me. Once people locally started to see the growth, they were asking me how I was doing it. And obviously I love to share everything I know because I want to see every business owner have business success. And so I started to share that locally at workshops and speaking events. And so I started my own company called the Referral Circle. It's a program, so it has online courses, but also there was a live component part. And I was doing that last year, but after 2020 hit, I've decided to take a seat back. So I still have a lot of the online resources, but now I'm just kind of going more into the spiritual realm and seeing where that takes me. And who knows, this could be business number 4, but right now I'm in that exploratory phase. But I do have all the 3 businesses. I sit at the helm, so I'm no longer in the business. So I'm not a solopreneur at all. I was for the first 4 months that I jumped into entrepreneurship. I was a solopreneur. And that was not fun.
Right.
So as soon as I could, I was starting to delegate and outsource and get a team going because I knew that there was no way I could scale without having my team. But that's where we are now. So we still have the 3 companies. My husband, he's happy doing the AC fixing. He does not He does not fall into the business aspect of it. I handle the business stuff. He fixes the ACs, and that's our agreement. And so that's how we make it work together. And so I love everything that we're doing. And I'm so grateful because entrepreneurship has really allowed us to not only make it a business that's in alignment with our dynamic and what matters the most to us as a family, but also it's allowed us to really like serve our community. I mean, we give so much to charity. We have a one-to-one give back program within the business. And so there's so much that we've been able to do. And it's 100% because of going on this journey in entrepreneurship. So I'm so grateful.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And so many of those things line up with a lot of our values as well. And I'm 100% with you. I didn't want to be an entrepreneur until I did. And again, I don't think I even knew entrepreneurship was the answer. It was just, I knew that I didn't want to do this, like what I was doing. So I actually thought, and I don't know if you had a similar experience, it was like an industry change. I was like, maybe I just need to change it up. Maybe I'm just burned out a little bit. I didn't even know did you experience that at all? Or you knew that like the exit was where you needed to go?
No, I did. So just like you, I mean, I love my work too. I love sales. I love talking to customers. I love client services. Like I love the business aspect of it. It was just the environment was toxic for me at the end. And so I thought, let me do the same thing that I'm doing, but not for a company. So what I initially did before we, started the business is that I started to do like a 1099 type contract work for the businesses. I made a name for myself amongst the businesses here locally. So I just reached out to them and I said, I'm doing the same thing, but on my own. I didn't sign an NDA or anything. So I had every right to do that. And so that's what I did. But then I realized that it was still me. Like I couldn't hire a team because they wanted me during that consultancy phase. And so I was like, I need to get out of this because it still requires a lot of my time and my energy.
Yeah. I get that. And I think so many people experience that, Sarah, like the freelancing, the consulting is often kind of the gateway. And then you realize you put yourself in a situation where you're trading time for money. Right. And so you have to find leverage in some capacity, right?
Absolutely.
So is it scaling? Is it a one-to-many model? Is it something like what you pivoted into? I think that's great. So let's talk team, because that's a lot of what we talk about here on the show. So do your employees work like for one business or another, or do you kind of share across the board, or what's that set up for you guys?
I do have some team members that work across the board. So obviously for some things like marketing, graphic design, things of that nature, they work across the board. So they'll do things for all my businesses, and I like it that way. I also do have an integrator that works across two businesses. I have two integrators actually, and they work across two businesses. And so they don't communicate with each other as much. They communicate with their subordinates or their team members, and then there's no reason for them to talk to each other. They just talk to me directly. So I've made it that way. So that way they're kind of like my gatekeepers. Yep. So that no one is waiting. I'm not the bottleneck in the company. So the gatekeepers answer a lot of the questions, and they have real good sovereignty in their roles. They're able to answer a lot of the questions that they don't need my advice on. And then the small fraction of the things that really require my attention, they will bring to me, and they know how I work, what days I don't like to work. They don't bring anything to me Monday mornings. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're just really my gatekeepers that I love. And so then below that is we have like our office managers that handle the operations of just that business. So they are solely in only the business that they're in. They do not cross train, or they don't, dabble in other businesses. And so that is how it's broken up. It's funny because when I started out, people would always tell me like, oh, no, you can't do that. You have to do, this graphic designer for this company, because you can't, it'll be confusing because they can't keep alignment with like the brand integrity and all that stuff. But I don't think that that's true, because I think once you build a lot of really great systems, and then you have like SOPs, like your operating procedures that they can look at, and you have, your brand guidelines, it's not something that's hard to like mix up. And when we talk about the core of all of our businesses, I mean, at the core, it's all the same. Like integrity is huge. Right. We like to have fun, but we also like to be accountable and all that stuff. So the core essence of all three businesses is very much the same. So it's okay that my team members like do things for different businesses. It works for us.
Totally. No, and I get that. And I love that. And so, yeah, we are kind of a marriage of companies in our partnership. I have a business, and then Kelly Roach and I partnered on this business. And then Kelly has 3 other businesses and all that other way. So we share resources as well. Where it's like marketing, we definitely borrow marketing. Sometimes it's like, hey, we need somebody to, like when we were setting up this entity, we borrowed a finance person because we didn't have one yet and things like that. So no, I totally dig that. And I love what you said about like SOPs and stuff. And that's totally your operations brain, because I do not have that brain at all. I have a sales brain all day, every day. I'm like, how does this work? I don't know, but I'll just do it for you. So one of the things that you said before we pushed record, which I really want to talk about, was everyone in my companies is a salesperson. Everyone is a salesperson. So what do you mean by that? And then how do you infuse that into your culture, Sara?
Sure. So I think this is important for every business owner, because if you only have one salesperson, I recently was at an event and someone told me that the most dangerous number you can have in your business is 1. If you have one person doing any one task and they're the only one that knows it, that is a huge risk in business. And so I really took that to heart, especially coming from a corporate background where we did cross train. Even in corporate, people think like corporate is big business that has hundreds and even thousands of employees, that people don't cross train. And that's not true. The sales department relies on the marketing relies on, we all work to advertising, so everyone has to work together. So in my business, even if you're at the front line where you're answering the phones and your sole job is just to book calls, so that a salesperson can go out there or a technician can go out there, I still want you to be able to know, have enough education in the business to know what you can sell to the customer, even when you're on the phone call with them. Because a lot of times that frontline employee, a lot of companies don't want them to sell. But the thing is, if they cannot have a conversation that sounds intelligent and your consumer doesn't think that they have any knowledge about the business, that's a huge red flag. And consumers are getting smarter and smarter every day. So if your front line is messing up and making it sound like they're not invested in the company and they don't know what they're talking about, that right there can cost you huge sales. Your sales guy won't even, or saleswoman won't even be able to come out to really, showcase the product or the offering. So for me, the way that I infuse that in my business is everyone who comes on, we have a sales training with them. And I always like to flip the script and tell them that to think of sales as education. And it really does make a huge difference, because I see on our sales team, or our team period, the biggest hang up for sales is for some people who aren't in sales, who don't love sales. I love sales. So I've never felt this way, but I know for a lot of people I've spoken to, where their hang up is that they think of sales as something like icky, like it's a burden, like they don't want to annoy the customer and stuff like that. And so that's one of the first things we do when you come on board here, is that we talk about how sales is actually a gift to our clients. And you're doing them a huge disservice if you do not talk about your product or your offering, or you're withholding information that they need because you feel icky about it, right? So I do not tell my team members that they have to learn how to sell. What I tell them is they have to learn how to educate the client on our products and our offerings, because that in turn will sell in itself, right? So when people call in and they're just booking an appointment and they're telling us our problem, my frontline staff that answers the phones, they know all of our offerings. And so they know when the customer tells us their pain point, they know, okay, our sales guy, when he goes out, he's going to mention X, Y, and Z. So on the phone, I'm going to start off by letting them know what X, Y, and Z is, right? We don't have to talk about pricing. That's okay. That's not their job. They don't price the offering. But what they do is they just plant that seed, first letting the customer know they know what they're talking about and they feel their pain, right? So we're going to be able to come out and we are actually going to be able to help you with whatever problem you're telling us you have. But second of all, it also lets our client know that everyone in our staff is educated on what we offer. That just shows, that builds some of that trust and that integrity. So it doesn't feel shady in any way. Like, you get on some calls and they're like, I don't know, let us get a guy out. Let us get somebody out to come talk to you. And then you're just like, as a consumer, that raises red flags. Like, this feels uncomfortable, So they might already have their guard up when your salesperson is on the phone with them or out at their house or whatever, right? So from the beginning, we like to make them feel real comfortable. We like to educate them. We plant those seeds. So by the time our sales team is having the conversation, it's a no-brainer. It's a done deal. Like, we know exactly what to talk to them about. We know exactly what their pain point is and how to make that sale and close that sale.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So many good things in there. But one of the things that you said that I thought was really, really good was that it was like your frontline people, like those are your people, right? Like that's the first experience that oftentimes people have with your brand, right? If they're not a repeat customer in some capacity. And we always say that like your sales team is an extension of your business, right? Like if they go out into the world and they're educated and they're articulate and they're, smart and they know what they're talking about, people are like, oh yeah, that brand. But if your salesperson is not, it's that same idea. So, I think that that's really powerful. And I love that you're empowering what some people view as like, oh, they're just the people that answer the phone. It's like, no. Like they're the first experience that somebody has with my brand and my best opportunity to set our sales team up for success. So I think that's really, a super smart way to do business. And then I'm assuming that has trickled over to the other businesses as well, outside of just the HVAC business.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, all the businesses across the board know that that's what, when we think about it as education and integrity and a service to our clients, everyone knows. I mean, I am talking about the AC business a lot, but even in the AC business, our installers, so some of our installers that are actually at our customer's home, some of them don't even speak English, but they have closed sales before. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's because they know what, out of integrity, what we like our clients to have. If they go to someone's house and they notice, oh, they're missing this one product or this one offering that we usually have most of our clients having, and they notice that, they'll make a way to communicate that with the customer. And then they relay it back in-house to our inside sales, and our inside sales can get on the phone and say, hey, we noticed you don't have X, Y, and Z. This is why we recommend it. So no matter where in the business it is, like even if you think like, okay, my employee isn't that articulate, okay, but do they have integrity and have you educated them enough? Because if you have those two things, they can get it to someone else who communicates a little bit better, and we can still make that sale and provide the customer with the service that they really deserve. You know what I mean? So that your customer doesn't feel like they're missing out on something that they should have.
Yes. So good. So good. So I want to ask a question, because you said, obviously you grew the AC company to 7 figures, and then you launched the second company around referrals. So I'm assuming referrals were a large part of your marketing strategy in the growth of the AC company.
Huge.
Is that where that came up?
Huge. And when I tell you how much, you're gonna lose your mind. But in that first year, we did 7 figures with 0 ad spend. Zero. And I say that because people nowadays, and by the way, I'm not knocking ads. Please, if it's working for you, keep working it, okay? Yes. Please keep working it. But people don't realize that besides ads, there is other ways to market your business that is extremely profitable. And so that's one of the main things when I got out and when other people started to see our business success and they asked me like, hey, what are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? And I would go and talk to other business owners. I realized a lot of my small business owner friends had no referral program and then no loyalty program. Yeah. So they weren't, getting repeat business, right? They weren't growing their customer retention, right. And then they weren't utilizing the customers they had to be like their invisible sales force, getting out there and selling for them. And I will tell you that you can put the most beautiful ad together. You can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on ads, but your best marketing is other clients, your testimonials, your reviews. That's really what sells your business. And so when you find a way to leverage that, I mean, it can have a snowball effect. It's huge. And it's, I think, a missed opportunity in a lot of small businesses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, we always say that there are 4 ways to generate leads, right? There's, just the organic boots on the ground sales methodology. There's the visibility strategy, right? Podcast guesting, those types of things. There's ads, and then there's referrals, right? Like there are 4 buckets, in every business, and in a best case scenario, you're leveraging all 4, right? Yes. Best case scenario, you're leveraging 4. Absolutely. Because like you mentioned earlier, the most dangerous thing is having one strategy, right? Yes. How many people right now are having a hard time because Facebook's losing their marbles, and people are having a really hard time in their businesses because they don't have those other things in place. So I love that. And was that something, Sara, that came intuitively to you to set that up? Or was that something you've done in the corporate world that like you knew, hey, one of the first things we had to do is get this referral plan in place?
That came from corporate for sure, 100%. Because when I was in corporate, like I said, a lot of these industries that I worked in were male dominated. And in that time, it was the toxic male domination. Okay. No offense to the fellas, because I know you guys are doing great things now, but I'm talking about old school, the good old boys club in oil and gas. They had found systems that worked, but their systems were outdated. And so when I came in with this energy of like, let's get back to our clients. Let's bring in our clients. Let's incentivize them to refer business to us. Like I got a lot of pushback because they were like, I don't want to pay for referrals to come in. Like, people should just refer us and I don't want to pay for it. And I was thinking, well, you're paying for ads that have no guarantee. And if you're getting referred business, that's 100% guarantee. So like, why can't we do that and just see how it feels, right? And so finally, like with enough talking, they finally gave in and allowed me to like roll out some of these really good referral programs. And you see that the really big businesses are doing this left and right. I mean, you see it all the time. Refer a friend, get 25% off, or get a free whatever next time around. I mean, big businesses know to do this, but sometimes the businesses I was working in, they would just like forget about customer loyalty and referrals every single time. And so seeing the amount of success we had in corporate with that, I knew that I had to bring it into our business. And that's what we did. I mean, at the beginning, we attempted to run ads, but I was a solopreneur at the beginning. I had no idea how to run ads, but I knew how to wow our customers and get them to refer business to us. And so I just used what I knew at the time. And then when I saw the impact it was having and the effect that it was having, I was like, there's no reason to do anything else, you know, but we did do the other ones. But I mean, at the beginning as a core solopreneur.
Sure. I love that, because I do think a lot of people think that a referral program happens after you have a lot of clients. Like, oh, you can start a referral program once you have a huge client base. And, you know, what I'm sure you're learning and what we're learning in the launch of Social Sellers Academy and us being a 4-month-old business, we're already getting referrals. We have a couple dozen clients and we're already getting referrals. Yeah. But because that was one of the first things we put into place. We had a referral program. We made it easy for them. They know exactly what the payout is. They know what's in it for them. Like it was very simple. So I love that you had that insight early on, because I think there's a misconception of like, well, I don't have hundreds of customers, so a referral program won't work for me.
Right. You're absolutely right. And when I would tell people that, they didn't believe me at first, because when we grew our business to 7 figures, all our social media following was about 150 people. Like, it was laughable. I mean, people were like, how? I don't believe you. And I'm like, all right, you can see you know what I mean? Like, you can see my receipts. We're not hiding anything. But I think that you're right. A lot of people, there is a huge misconception. And I think it's what is the hang up for a lot of entrepreneurs. And it's like, no, just even if you have one customer, you will be surprised. If you give them excellent service and you really wow them, you'll be surprised how much they can, you know, bring you back in return.
I love that. Awesome. Well, Sara, I could chat business with you all day long. But as I shared with you and as I share with all of our listeners, I always like to keep this show short and power packed. So tell everybody where they can connect with you, where they can follow along and get more of your energy and awesome insight.
Awesome. Thank you. You can find me online at sarayagoub.com, and that's YAGOUB, because I know that's hard to spell. And I also play on Instagram at Entrepreneur Sara. So you can always find me there as well.
Awesome. Well, Sara, thanks so much for a great conversation. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ryan, for having me on. Y'all take care.